Hello, hello. Here we are, everyone. Sunday night. Summit is almost over. Can you believe it? What an amazing nearly 3 days it has been. I have just been overwhelmed with the positive response from so many people and never imagined it would be as well received as it has been. So I have Kimberley Peden waiting in the wings to come and chat to you tonight about exercise and becoming fat adapted. Of course, as I've told you, she will be getting her presentation to you shortly. And whether you have bought the program or have just signed up for the free version, everyone will be gifted with that when it does arrive. But she has kindly offered to show up tonight as a little bit of a surprise. But before I bring her in, I just wanted to, yes, thank you all very, very much for being a part of it, and obviously thank all the presenters for their amazing presentations, energy, honesty, and realism, being real. It's been great. When you signed up to the program, to the free register for free, you may have noticed that I quoted Teddy Roosevelt's quote on being in the arena. And I did that because it's usually the fear of what other people think of us that prevents us from stepping into the arena in the first place. And for myself and for many of the presenters that have been a part of this summit, this has been the first time that they have stepped into the arena. And it isn't easy to do. And it can be really, really scary because, of course, you know, the fear around what other people say or think. But, you know, we learn when we do this type of things that this is where the juice is, and this is where, you know, we can just experience amazing feelings and amazing things. And, you know, when we know that what other people think of us really isn't any of our business, you know, we can sort of step aside that fear and show up anyway. So I have been overwhelmed, as I said, by the positive responses. I think there was very few people who needed help with logging in. And really, I only had one negative, if you like, email that was sent my way accusing me of being underhanded, I suppose, and not upfront because they missed out on the start of it. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely not been that, and that's not me at all, and that's not any of the presenters. You know, we've just really given everything to give you as much as we can for very little. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing much I can do about if that's how somebody wants to think. So, but put that aside, I know that there will be people who will show up and will be disappointed that they have missed out on some or all of the free version. And I would say to you that don't let that stop you. Work out a way around that. There is obviously the replay you can purchase, $49. For those of you who have seen what is in this summit, is not very much at all, and that just simply allows me to keep that live on the platform, on the software, and I have no intention of taking it down. It's going to be available for as long as I am working. Or, you know, you don't even have to do that. Connect with the presenters, connect with the people on here. See things that come up as obstacles rather than an excuse, because an obstacle is something that you can go around, over, under. You can work something out. There is always a way to work something out. So I understand there will be disappointment if you haven't seen it all or if people have missed out, but this is out there now, and there is nothing to stop you for wanting to make the changes that you might want to make with your health. So we have only about 14 hours left to go. Still 14 hours left for you to view day 3 and take advantage of the gifts and the resources as well, before the only option will be the replay version that will be need to be purchased. So, and I think the question was asked, how long will that be available to purchase for? As I said, as long as I am working, and I intend to work for a very, very long time. So after all the hard work, it's certainly not going to be taken away now. So it will be there. So anyway, enough of me. I just wanted to thank you all, and I won't be back on here now till Thursday night when we have our first Q&A, because I do need a break. I need to get some sleep and catch up with my kids and my family and just have a bit of a rest. But I've absolutely loved it, and I can't thank you all enough for your support and for just being curious and embracing it. So let me bring in now the lovely Kimberley. Here she is. Sorry for blabbing on a bit too long there.
It was great.
Welcome. So lovely to have you here. I know it's such a hot topic. There was so many people who were disappointed that they didn't get to see your presentation, but as we know, it is coming, and how awesome that as well we get to have you here, answering a lot of the questions that have been put forward about exercise and fat adaptation and all that sort of stuff. So welcome.
Yep. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks for having me. And thank you to everybody out there for being very kind and patient with what's been going on with my life. The presentation is in the works. It's a work in progress, but I'm very glad to be here tonight, so I can feel like I have something extra to offer for the summit as well. So thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have the questions that have been submitted. So are you happy we just go through each of them and we can and hear what you've got to say?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is, what does being fat adapted actually mean?
Okay. So there's lots of different definitions out there. You'll hear fat fueled, fat adapted, you're in ketosis. There's lots of different things. So basically, basic physiology 101 is the body can use two things for fuel: glucose and fat, and on smaller levels, it can use protein when the body actually needs to. So fat adaptation just means that you've switched your internal kind of mechanics to teach your body how to burn fat rather than to burn glucose or sugar. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And then you can use either your nutritional fat, so what you take in, or your stored fat for fuel. So yes, that's pretty much the basics 101. And usually the science is still in the works as well. But usually this happens when we get into ketosis when we're somewhere under 50 grams of carbs per day. So everybody's a little bit different. Yeah. So the general rule is stick under 20, but there's still people out there who can still be in ketosis and fat adapted at under 50 grams of carbs as well. So just like anything, every person's different, everybody is unique. So you kind of have to play around to find what I call the carb threshold for each person.
Yeah. What's your view? Could I just throw another question in quickly just on that? Because I know there's a whole lot of different views out there around, is it really important to be in ketosis? What's your view on that?
Yes. So if you want to get into fat adaptation and ketosis, ketosis is great because that's the only time your liver starts to produce the ketones. So so our brain actually needs either glucose or ketones to function. So the only time that we don't get that brain fog or that kind of flat when we run out of carbohydrates is if we're actually burning ketones. And the only way we get ketones is if we're in ketosis and starting to burn our fat for fuel. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. So, because I think too, what I've seen, for me personally and just over the years is it changes too, like, I mean, when I first sort of came into this, I was really, I did the whole measuring, I haven't done it for years now. And, my clients play around with it a bit. It's a bit fun. But, I just sort of find that, and what I've learned is over the years, the more metabolically flexible you are and the more, I suppose, you've got that inbuilt, it's, you might not even get much on the register. It's not about chasing ketones so much and getting a really, really high number. Is that what you've kind of seen as well?
I think like you, Tracy, I chased the numbers in the start because that's all the information that was out there. And I think, the general rule with numbers in ketosis is anywhere from 0.5 millimoles up to 3. You're kind of in optimal ketogenic state, but you're also in fat burning and you're also in fat adaptation at those numbers usually. So I think it really comes down to why are you wanting to be in ketosis? So obviously ketosis is great for weight loss. Ketosis is great for other health conditions. So neurological conditions, other metabolic
Mm-hmm.
conditions. So it just depends on what your goal is, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And of course too, you know, the chasing, well, not the chasing ketone so much, but the, you know, the MCT oils and stuff like that. You know, I've seen that whether
Yeah.
that is, you know, right for everybody, you know, with your goal is weight loss, you know, may not, you know, be necessary. What's your view on that with, you know, having those?
I've tried it. I've
Yeah,
tried
have
it
you?
before. I've gone
Cool.
for a run and stuff. Yeah. So it'll
Yeah,
give you that instant, it can give you that instant kick into ketosis where you're kind of burning the fat, but it's not as long-term and as sustainable as being in a state of
yeah,
ketosis for
yeah,
long periods of time. You know, so it gives you that
yeah,
kick of energy,
yeah.
but it's not sustainable. It's kind of like wearing orthotics for your feet, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I like it. All right. So that moves
Yeah.
nicely into, you know, why would we want to be fat or become fat adapted?
Okay, so energetically speaking, when you burn, okay, so I'm going to get a little geeked out here. So basically your muscles and your liver can store up to about 2000 calories of glycogen or stored glucose per day. Yeah, so you've only got that little storage container. You can burn that off in 2 hours of high intensity exercise. You can burn that off in a day of fasting. So then, but then after that, you kind of hit what, if you've ever heard bonking or hitting the wall. So then you've lost all your glycogen or your glucose, and then the body's craving, and that's when you get all your carb cravings and things like that. So once you become fat adapted, you've switched the internal machinery, and your body can then start to burn the fat for fuel. So you have more sustainable energy. If even the smallest elite athlete who has maybe 10% body fat, I love the numbers, I think that person will have 20,000 calories of available energy to use, whereas, 2,000 versus 20,000. If you're an endurance athlete, which one would you pick? Like, I picked the 20,000. Then you're not stopping to refuel on gels and all hitting the wall. You can just go and go and go and go and go. Yeah. And the great thing about being fat adapted is what I found is as you go on and on and on, you're not getting as much kind of fallback, I guess, if you're doing high intensity exercise, like things like interval training and sprints. I found that the longer I was in fat adaptation, the easier it was to recover from those higher bouts of exercise. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the next question was, how do we become fat adapted? Because I think there's confusion around being in ketosis and actually being
Yeah.
fat adapted, because they're quite different.
I think they go hand in hand. So I think what I've found, and the science says, is you have to be in a state of ketosis to get fat
Mm-hmm.
adapted, because you're either burning fat or you're burning glucose. So again, it's an individual process to get into ketosis. And then it's usually, I think, it really depends on the individual. Again, I hate giving really generic answers, but it really is based on the individual, that some people can change into fat adaptation in 4 weeks, and some people it takes up to 6 months. So the body is really great at adapting to new environments you're giving. But if you've got health conditions, so if you've got diabetes or you're insulin resistant, I think the body needs to heal those first before it starts using that new fuel source to burn fat.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I've seen it so much, that
Yeah.
health factor is just what our body's going to do first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think I was
Yeah.
going to say, I think the time frame is so different for everybody, but there's definite signs that you can pretty much kind of know that you're fat adapted. So you can go 5 or 6 hours without feeling hungry and getting the rumbles or getting hangry, the hungry and angry kind of thing. You can you've got increased endurance performance, so you're not hitting that wall anymore. I know, like I said, when I was running, that first 20 minutes when I was a carb burner, I would just be like, oh my God, when am I going to kick into aerobic and burning my fat? And it used to take, the first 20 minutes of my run was just miserable. And then I could just go forever. So when I started was in ketosis and became fat adapted, I didn't have that 20-minute warm up anymore. I could just go out for a run and my metabolism just kicked into fat burning really quickly. And so that first 20 minutes wasn't a miserable part of my run anymore, which was great. So, yeah.
Because it's interesting, you know, like, as you say, you know, we can be in ketosis by fasting, you know, by training, by obviously eating a ketogenic diet as well. But if you, so for example, I think, you know, most people don't realize, so fasting overnight, you know, we would be producing ketones because, as you said, our body doesn't have that capacity to hold that much glucose, and we don't generally, most of us get up in the night to eat. So, you know, our body has, you know, is producing them, and it's always producing both. It's never really one or the other, is it? It's kind of, you know, we don't have to tell it what to do. It kind of knows what to do and what to produce. But if we go, so we wake up in the morning, we might be in ketosis, but then we start off and we go back to, we go and eat a high carb breakfast, you know, we have, that's it, you know, it's kicked out. So that's the difference to me. Like, I just kind of see it as ketosis is like that, just that state that, you know, is that potential is there really quickly for most of us, but just creating, you know, as you said, that fat adapted fuel where we can go all day, you know, and not go up and down and feel the highs and the lows and just be burning. I like, you know, that premium fuel. It's just, you know, there that does, and it, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I kind of equate it to, and I've heard this somewhere else, that when we burn carbohydrates for fuel, if you've ever been camping, it's like putting kindling on a fire. So it burns smoke, and that's exactly what carbohydrates do in our body. So it releases all this crap into our system that can create more inflammation and damage to our cells. When we burn fat for fuel, it's like burning high octane. We become like race cars. So it burns clean, it burns clear, it doesn't let off that crap into the body. And the other little cell that I love talking about is the mitochondria. So it's better health for your mitochondria, which is the cell that helps us, you know, burn our oxygen and burn our fuel and helps us lose weight and makes us fitter. So why wouldn't you want to burn a higher octane fuel versus something that can cause damage down the track? So there's just so many more benefits to weight loss and health, and it's just fantastic.
And the other one to throw in there, of course, is aging, because we age at a metabolic level. So if we're fueling on carbs all the time, and that it's, as you say, that kindling and releasing a whole lot of stuff, it does. It's like the Energizer Bunny. I think of it like the Energizer Bunny. It just go, and it does, you know.
Or even like the turtle in the hair, you know, slow and steady. That's how I feel all the time. Slow and steady rather than just and burn out and have to crash. So there's no more 2 p.m. coffee crashes. There's no, you know, there's just sustainable energy throughout the day when you become a fat burner and you become fat adapted. And then down the track, what the next most amazing thing is you become metabolically flexible. So you can play around again and still be in ketosis with the slightly higher carb intake, but your body can handle it better. So it can switch between the two fuels, which is what we're meant to do. Like, we have the machinery. So why wouldn't we be able to use both when we need it?
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And I've just seen a question come up. Hi, Tracy, question for Kimberley. And it's going to go into our next question. One, we're going to talk about it, which is good. So if you are fat adapted, what then is metabolic flexibility? Is it using fat when it's available and glucose if it is? For example, if you are not in ketosis or on a ketogenic diet, but low carb. Thanks. So
I was going to say, like, we'll see if this answers the question with the person online. Is the body's smart and stupid at the same time. So it's always going to get it's always going to get the job done. But in my opinion, it's not always the most efficient way to get the job done. So the body will always look for glucose first. So if you're constantly putting in glucose, it's always going to use it first. And then, you know, spike insulin goes up. We can't burn fat. We can't get into the fat burning fuel system if we're constantly feeding it with carbohydrates and sugars. So once you start taking those away and you get below those 50 carbs, the body kind of, it's almost like it wakes up. It goes, hey, I've got this other new cool system here that is more efficient, and I can use this for day-to-day activities, for endurance training, even strength training as well. So I think it's just a matter of waking up that system that, for many of us, myself included, was 45 years, I never knew how to burn my own fat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
same.
I feel like it wakes up.
Mm. Yeah, and it's certainly, like worth doing a degree of dipping into that ketogenic state for, I think, and I've seen that, that's what I've seen for a few months, or, like certainly when people start out on this, you make the changes, and depending on your health and all of that, where you are, obviously, but it does benefit the body, I think, to sort of go temporarily, for a couple of months, at least down to into ketogenic levels, and then you just get so much more bandwidth, with playing around with it and going in and out, as you said, and using the body's two fuel systems more effectively.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the body doesn't know how to burn fat until you teach it how to burn fat. And the
Yeah.
only way to do that is by taking out the carbohydrates, because it's always going to find the carbs first. It's just physiology, and it's easy for it to find carbohydrates and glucose because it's the easiest thing to burn.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we kind of covered this, but was there anything else that you wanted to say in terms of the benefits over being a sugar burner versus a fat burner?
I think they've probably all been covered in the summit. I know for myself, as a fat burner, I sleep better. I don't have as many migraines. And let me tell you, now I'm going through menopause, that I have way less hot flushes when I'm in ketosis, almost nil. And as soon as I have too many carbs for my carb kind of threshold, the hot flushes come back. So for me, it's an additional bonus to stay in ketosis while I'm going through menopause as well. So, and that just, that changes everything as well with physiology too. So always something new to learn.
That's it. Another question, aren't we in ketosis when we're born? Yeah, I believe we are in ketosis when we're born. That's a very natural state for us until we start feeding our kids a really high carb diet. Pretty much. Interesting, because
so why wouldn't we? So if we're born that way, it kind of makes sense that it's a natural state, not this weird thing that's just been developed. It's something that our bodies are very capable of doing. They've just forgotten how to do it, It's the same thing as it's like strength training, you have to build your muscles in order to get stronger. So you have to build your kind of keto adapted muscles to be able to use the machinery for its most efficient purpose, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen overnight, as as we all want it to, but it definitely doesn't. Awesome. So one of the things I hear a lot is, yes, I get keto, I get low carb, but when I exercise, I need my carbs, because how can we exercise without carbs? So in your experience, there's some types of exercise that we still would benefit from having carbohydrates?
Depends on the carbohydrates you're talking about. So we'll start there. I think, again, it's going to come back to the individual answer. I found with myself as well as with some clients that depending on the intensity of the exercise you do. So there's a lot of research. I don't know if you've heard of it, Stephen Finney. So he's a big guy in this space with endurance athletes and cyclists and things like that. So he's pretty much says that, you don't need carbs for anything. I think it's where you are in the adaptation phase as well, where you are in your journey. And if your machinery is able to do that, I find I lift weights, I run, I cycle, and I can do that all fasted. So not feeling like I need carbohydrates at all. But again, there might be other people who feel they need to maybe have a few pieces of fruits or nuts before they exercise, just so you have that kind of stable state of energy while you're working out. But do you need it 100%? Definitely not.
I agree.
I'm of the school that there's no really anything essential about carbohydrates, really. There's nothing about a carbohydrate that is an essential for maintaining our body. Because even if the brain, which needs a little bit of glucose, you can get that. You can get the ketones from being in ketosis. And if your body really needs sugar for whatever purpose, it'll break down protein. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I was going to say something, but I've completely forgotten what it was, so it doesn't matter. A question: will carb cycling be beneficial for endurance athletes? I imagine that's probably a bit of an individual thing. What's your view on that? Yeah.
I've read about carb cycling. I've never really tried it myself, to be honest.
Mm,
So that's something that I might do an N equal 1 experiment on myself. I definitely have seen lots of people kind of prescribing to that. And again, I think it just comes back to the individual person. What feels good
yeah.
for you? You know,
Yeah.
can you do what you need to do while you're in ketosis? If not, well, then have a few more carbs. You know, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think it really is. It may not be right for everybody, but I think it's definitely great for the majority of people.
Yeah, yeah, I love how you say that, because I think there's, so often we just look for the prescription and the rules around it, but there is the physiology, and then there's making it work for you. And yes, I think, yes, you say our body doesn't need carbs, but we've got to think about what we're used to doing, and changing habits isn't easy. So sometimes we might have to just give ourselves time to play around with it and experiment a little bit. And I love that. I love the way you say that, because so many people are so black and white about this, but it just isn't black and white.
It can't be. It can't be.
Mm.
Then there would be like one thing for everybody, and that's where we'd be less individual as humans. And I think the goal is to be able to be metabolically flexible, so that we can burn fat and we can have that extra glass of wine when we're celebrating, or that little bit of ice cream or whatever, that we can still enjoy things without being so rigid and saying, well, that's not ketogenic and that's not going to help fuel your body. And I know for me, ketosis is my preferred state, because it just makes me feel better. And as an endurance athlete, I think it just makes sense to tap into fat fuels. So, but for everybody, it might not, so I think it's what are your goals? And I definitely think low carb is for everybody. Definitely. And I think if you've got any kind of metabolic issues, definitely ketosis to help heal your body, give it that anti-inflammatory space to heal, and then decide where you want to go.
Yeah, awesome, love it. And the carb cycling, I've never really tried it myself either, but I do know Dr. Jackie Montefiore, she's done that a little bit. And sometimes we'll throw, and when we're talking carbs, it's like it might be some carrots or a little bit of sweet potato or something, occasionally into an evening meal. And she finds for her that works a little bit better. She sleeps a little bit better. It hasn't, obviously she's metabolically flexible. She's been doing this a long time now, but, again, I think it just comes back to, the individual. I don't really want to do that. Doesn't kind of work for me, but it might work for some people. Yeah.
And I think with the body, like going back to my smart and stupid at the same time, is that the body only is, changes when you challenge it. So even with ketosis and low carb, I think that, you hear people talk about plateaus and stuff. And I think when you get to those plateau-y places, that's where you can kind of change it up. So in strength training, we call it like like a deloading week. So it's kind of would be the same. You're kind of changing the variables to stimulate some new change in your physiology. And I think that's where carb cycling might be beneficial, is where you're kind of cruising and you're just kind of maintaining, or something changes and you want to shift and change it up. So I think definitely it would probably definitely have its benefits.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Love that. Metabolic gray zone. What is this metabolic gray zone?
Okay, that's a great question. I had no idea what that was.
Oh, really?
When you sent me the question. So I'm like, I haven't heard of this before. I'm not sure, because there's a lot of things, there's words being created in this space all the time. I'm like, what is this metabolic gray zone? So I Googled it, of course. I did a Google. And to me, it sounds like the little phase when you start going keto in the beginning, where it's almost like you have the keto flu. So that first week, where all that, you reduce your carbs dramatically, I think is where it happens. And the body's kind of going, oh my God, where am I going to get, energy for my brain and energy for my nervous system, and just kind of has a little bit of a freak out. And I know my body did that when I first did it, because I did I'm going to be under 20 grams of carbs. And I realized, and I think I hit that gray zone because I couldn't do my cycling as intense as I was. So as an example, I could like say cycle at a level 11. And the first time I went under 20 grams of carbs, I was like, oh, I can only go to like a level 5. What's going on? So I have a feeling that's kind of what that gray zone is, where your body's just adapting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
You just have
adapting.
to give it time. It's
Yeah,
just adapting.
that's it. That's it. So if you're full on into exercise and your body's used to burning glucose, you decide tomorrow, okay, I'm going to burn fat, but you expect your body to have the same output and performance while it's adjusting, you're going to be, in a pretty bad place, I think. Again, sorry, Jackie, I hope you're listening, talked about you as well, but she's a runner, and when she first found low carb, she didn't really understand that. She made the switch. 2 days later, went out for a run. I think she had to be picked up. She couldn't.
Yes.
She just, had nothing in the tank at all. And see, if you don't understand what's happening, that can be scary. You're like, oh, this is crap. This isn't working. I'm going to go back to, to glucose. So that's why I think it's important to understand there is 100% an adaptation phase, and don't go expecting your body to do, what it used to do. It will get back there, and it probably will go even further. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But the cool thing is, let's think, 40 years or 50 years of being a sugar burner, and it only takes 6 weeks to adapt. Like, how cool is that? Like, that's really, you give the body the right environment and it adapts very quickly. So 6 weeks really isn't that, 6 weeks, 3 months, whatever it takes, isn't that long when you've been 40 years a sugar burner. So to me, that's very quick physiology. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. We're amazing, aren't we? Our bodies, it's awesome. Now, the big controversial question is, does exercise help with fat loss? Or weight loss, fat loss,
Okay, so long story short, there's so much controversy in this space. My answer, yes, definitely yes. So the magic combo for, you'll lose fat on any kind of diet, for lack of a better word, that you go on. Yeah. But if you combine low carb or ketogenic, even low carb will do it, plus resistance training and some aerobic, it's the magic combo. Yeah. But if you're just going to pick one, stick with weight training, because basic physiology, when you build muscle, you have more mitochondria. When you have more mitochondria, you burn more fat, full stop. And you only, so you only get more mitochondria when you have more muscle fibers. You can also get mitochondria when you do aerobic exercise. So, and that's the basic machinery for creating energy and burning fat. So yes, in a shortened version, yes, exercise definitely will help with fat loss.
Interesting.
As a physiologist,
I
was just going to say, as an exercise physiologist, we know the data is 70 to 75% is what you put in your mouth. But you will have better results, like less flabby skin. You won't lose your bone density. You won't lose your muscle mass if you're exercising at the same time. So, yes.
But it's a very different message to just go move more, because, as you say, weight training, because how much do we as women generally, and I am generalizing here, but we just head to the treadmill and do the cardio or the running, as opposed to the strength training and the lifting weights. And I completely agree with you. My question I had for you around that is, and I don't know if it's probably zero evidence on it, but it's just something I've observed. I wonder whether when you are a fat burner, I think weight training and even cardio will help with fat loss, as opposed to when you are a sugar burner. Because if you still might be getting the benefits of what you were saying with the extra mitochondria and stuff, but your body is still constantly, majority of the time in that glucose burning state. So insulin's high, fat storage is locked down. So exercise is very different, isn't it, when you are, that's what I've kind of seen.
When I was a strict sugar burner and doing tons of exercise and training for triathlons, I couldn't shift any weight. And now I know why, because I was eating carbs, and the belief that you have to eat carbs to fuel your body as an endurance athlete. I was still pretty fit, but I wasn't losing fat. As soon as I switched to low carb, the weight just melted off. And then my body would just became even more efficient at doing the exercises I was already doing. So yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. And we need to just, weights. We're not going to bulk up, we're not going to get, massive bulky bodies, but it is all the benefits, like avoiding sarcopenia and just being strong as we age. It is obviously important to eat protein and eat well, but to just keep our body strong as well, really, really important.
Yeah, there's so many more benefits to exercise than weight loss. You got to you got to exercise your heart and your lungs and your bones and your muscles and and it's the other thing, mental health. Exercise is fantastic for mental health. So I have to say it's a pet peeve of mine when I see programs that go, you can lose all this weight without having to exercise. It drives me bonkers, because exercise, we need it to get stronger. We need it to maintain all those functions of our body, good heart, good lungs, and things like that. And combine that with low carb, I think it's just the magic key.
And it is too, not just saying, okay, so go out tomorrow, drop your carbs, start exercising, start doing everything at once. Okay. No, we don't need to do that. Again, it's taking the time. And, I'm not sure what your opinion is, but I sort of tend to get my clients to get the food stuff first. And then we can start, and when your body's feeling better and you've got more, energy naturally, so many times it's just, okay, it's time to start. Let's do it now. I've got energy. I can do it. I'm not just trying to get through it every day, just at this, coping level.
Yeah. If it's not leaving you refreshed after you do it, your body's not ready for it. So you should always feel better after exercise.
Yeah.
If you're feeling crappy after that, then maybe your physiology is not ready, or you're doing too much, because exercise is stress on the body, and if you're already stressed in your life, you're creating more stress. So it's about finding that right combination. I often find with clients that come to me, they're already stressed in their life. So I'm like, let's just breathe for a week, because that helps changes your physiology. And you can't lose weight when your body's in a stressed state either. So it's finding that magic combination for the individual.
Yeah, and our bodies are amazing. They will tell us, won't they, when we listen to it? I mean, I love it. Like, I know, like these last 3 days, because my training, I do obviously strength training. I used to run. I don't run that much anymore, but mostly strength training. And I'll do 15 to 20 minutes, 5 to 6 times a week. So not very long, but intense. So I, will go out. I'm lucky because of my old work. I've got a little gym in the garage. I can go out and do it. Yeah. But, I know when I shouldn't do it, when I'm tired. Like, for example, obviously this weekend I have hardly slept. I'm not going to go then tomorrow and go, right, I'm going to do a hard training session out in the gym. Like, you have to put it in context. And I think that's one of the messages most of the presenters have put across the summit, is that it's not just one thing. We have to look at everything as a whole. And yes, definitely, as you said in the beginning, our bodies are dumb and stupid, but what did you say? Smart and stupid at the same time. But they know what they're doing. It knows what it's doing, and it'll tell us.
This gets in the way sometimes. We get in the way of what our body needs to do.
I know. Yeah. I know.
Too much of anything is not always a good thing. Too much exercise is not great, because it can break you down. So it's I always talk about finding that Goldilocks principle. The just right amount for the individual at the time, and it can change from week to week.
Yes, it will, and it will, won't it? It will, and oh, I love it. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. That was all the questions I had. I don't think anyone's made any more. Can I just quickly go up and have a look and see if there was any other questions that came through? Hi, everyone saying hi. So no other questions. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to get your summit presentation. I think it's going to be full of gold. But tonight was excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Tracy. I really appreciate it.
And by the way, everyone, I'm going to put down below where you can obviously connect with Kimberley, and if you're looking for any help along the way, then you can reach out out to her, because clearly
Fantastic.
she knows what she's talking about. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Tracy. Bye,
See
everyone.
ya. Bye, everyone.